and welcome to Cats Week. I'm Annalise Poorman. At the August 27th COVID-19 press conference, Mayor John Hamilton discussed Bloomington's rising COVID-19 rates. He shared that Monroe County is among the lowest counties in the state in relation to cases per 100,000 residents.
Our state, in June, we had 200 or 300 cases per day in June. It is now 3,000 or 4,000 cases per day, and the last 3 days have been around 5,000 cases. Just to repeat that, in June, it was 200 or 300 cases a day reported in the state. It is now 3,000 or 4,000 running average, and the last 3 days, 5,000 cases. Hospitalizations have gone from below 400 statewide to now over 2,000. Deaths have also substantially increased.
Health Administrator Penny Caudill updated the press on issues surrounding vaccines. She promoted the official approval of the Pfizer vaccine. She highlighted that the new name for the vaccine is Comirnaty, which has been causing some confusion.
So what's the difference between a third dose that we just talked about for the immunocompromised and a booster? Essentially, the third dose for the people who have compromised immune systems is because they may not have developed adequate immunity to begin with. So this third dose should give them that added protection and increase their immune response. The booster doses that people are talking about are intended for people who did finish their series of vaccine, whether it was 1 or 2 doses. They developed an immune response, but over time, that immune response has started to wane. And this booster dose or this additional dose of vaccine would then increase their protection again. So there is a difference. Booster doses are not yet approved, and we will be ready to address that when those are approved and we know exactly what that looks like.
Kirk White, co-chair of Indiana University Bloomington's COVID response unit, shared that there are 58 cases of COVID-19 on campus at IU Bloomington. He also said that they have a 91.4% vaccination rate. Brian Shockney, president of IU Health, mirrored the message that Indiana University has been doing a good job at mitigating COVID-19 cases.
We don't realize how important and the gym we have here in Indiana University and the leadership at Indiana University that has protected the healthcare system. It's not the case across the nation, and they have cared for their own. They have ensured vaccine, and when they have sick individuals and students, they have isolated them and provided care for them, and that is not the usual case. And so the least of our worries are the Indiana University Bloomington students and faculty. Our biggest worries are community citizens who are not vaccinated.
Due to an increase in local COVID-19 cases, meetings will return to a weekly instead of a biweekly schedule to keep the public up to date. The next COVID-19 press conference will be held on September 3rd. On August 30th, the Bloomington Utilities Service Board extended funding for COVID testing and monitoring to continue at wastewater treatment sites. Funding was approved through the end of the year. Assistant Director of Environmental Programs, James Hall, explained that the program monitors the sewage system to assess where COVID-19 spikes are occurring. Utilities Director Vic Kelson explained why the funding was needed.
We began sampling last July, basically on our own initiative. By the end of August, we were participating in a larger program with the state, but that program ended in December, and we've continued at that time, referring back to what Board Member White pointed out, that we're only sampling at 2 locations. For a while, they were sampling at 8 locations 3 times a week. Now we're sampling at 2 locations once a week. And that's simply because of cost.
Board member Jim Sherman asked Kelson if he thought the public's disapproval over the general 2022 budget would impact the approval of the City of Bloomington Utilities budget. Kelson responded that he was not completely sure, but that he is not worried about it.
I have no idea what will happen. I'm sure that everything will work out in the end. It always does. Our budget is separate from the general fund budget, however, so we're really not affected very much directly by what happens with the other budgets.
The next utilities meeting will be held on September 13th. The Bloomington City Council discussed removing parcels from potential annexation at its August 31st special session. Council members sponsored multiple amendments removing land from annexation ordinances. Councilmember Matt Flaherty addressed public concerns around how the annexation lines are drawn. He said the lines can look arbitrary because, in a way, they are.
I do bristle a little bit at the notion that the property owners immediately adjacent to the west may become part of the city, and these ones won't. It's a bit of an arbitrary line, but of course that's what this entire exercise is some, not arbitrary, but some level of line drawing inevitably. And the commenters rightly pointed out that the same as that's true to the west, true to immediately to the northeast is the fact that those parcels have not been considered in this annexation.
Councilmember Steve Volan proposed an amendment that would remove a parcel around Lori Lane. He clarified that he did not support many arguments against the annexation, but that the narrow entrance to Lori Lane would not support added city traffic.
And so again, that's why I thought that the entrance to Lori Lane really made the difference here, that this neighborhood is, despite appearances, outside the city in more ways than one. Again, it's a close call for me, but that's why I was supportive of this amendment. I'm not sure that I would be supportive of other amendments because there's so many factors going on here that make a difference. The final one being Lori Lane and 46. Thank you.
Councilmember Sue Scambaluri shared her criteria on what should be exempt from annexation. She said the annexation process was thorough and surgical, and that removing areas from annexation should be equally surgical.
Another argument, most of us have heard it in one setting or another, annexation, really, it's just a money grab. It's just arbitrary. From what I've seen, and I have had countless conversations with planning and with residents in many neighborhoods, this has been a very deliberate, thoughtful process. There is no just random grabbing of different kinds of parcels. And similarly, I think we need to be just as deliberate and just as surgical when we vote to include or exclude a property. That was the rationale for excluding Edgewood Hills. It was a very surgical amendment, or those 5 parcels. So that's how I tried to think about it.
Council members voted for 2 of the 3 proposed amendments, removing a total of 6 parcels from the current annexation ordinances. The council will consider more amendments in the future leading up to the September 15th final vote. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
The web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to Cats Week. On August 31st, the Bloomington Board of Public Works approved construction on East 14th Street. According to board member Dana Henke, the entire project will take place from September 23rd, 2021 to August 11th, 2023. The construction will be broken up into 4 phases. Attorney William Beggs expressed concern during public comment on behalf of his client. He wanted to ensure that his client's employees and customers would be able to get in and out onto 14th Street, and that their trash would be able to be collected.
Phase 4, and again, I want to say how much we appreciate the developers' willingness to work with us. Phase 4 is the place where we've got a difference. 4A, obviously, if you look at the MOT, is the most impactful to our business, and it comes about at a tough time. And so our request, we tried to put 2 alternatives out there, and I guess I want to just make sure neither of them works. One, we suggested, would it be possible to flip 4A and 4B in terms of the sequence in which that work is done? And the second thing we requested or tried to make work is there some way that 4A could happen earlier? I guess we don't care about 4B because that does not impact the ability of customers and staff to get to us, but 4A does. And
the Board of Public Works looked to Landmark Construction to answer his question. Their representative, Eric Schulte, responded saying that he was not sure it would be possible to accommodate them, but that they would do their best.
So as far as the timing, obviously if the work on phase 1, 2A, and 2B go quicker, I mean, we'd gladly move that up to make that work. It's kind of hard to tell at this point on how things go, but I mean, if we get the first 3 phases done sooner, and obviously we'll do that sooner if we can to accommodate. As far as like the phasing, obviously we're working from Walnut Street to the east. I mean, our water line's being laid from Walnut Street. We're working west to east, so to kind of hop over a section, it's just not kind of typical, to run a water line that skip a 50-foot section and then go again and then come back to it. As far as the timing, I said, if we, for some reason, obviously we want to go as fast as we can. I think it's better for everybody. If we can move that up, we'll try to. It's kind of hard to, I guess, commit at this time, but.
The Monroe County Council held a special work session to continue discussion on Monroe County's job classifications and compensations. At the August 31st work session, Council member Eric Spoonmore proposed that the County Council decide whether to adopt the findings from the commissioned Wagner, Irwin, Shaley and Associates report for the 2022 budget. County Attorney Margie Rice cautioned council members to implement salary increases equitably. She said this would avoid situations where employees are upset that they only make a bit more money than employees who work under them.
We regularly hear when, let's say, a COMET category is increased, that their supervisors now are very close in salary to those people they're supervising. So you must think about the unintended consequences that you might have if you don't implement things equitably across all categories.
Highway Director Lisa Ridge spoke against adopting the findings. She said that WIS admitted that their report contained errors and that adopting the report as is meant department heads would have to comb through the results and make sure there were not additional errors.
I am not a department head that came forward just to say I'm upset with the outcome of this report. I think it's a great basis. I've been here since day one of 1997 of the original report. We found factual errors in job descriptions. WIS admitted to it on the phone that they had overlooked some of the duties. But you want us to adopt those and then as a department head go through and work through these problems. I find that really time consuming for a department head. When it's not just that I'm upset, I'm trying to make sure that something is not overlooked. And it was stated in that day, why would we want to pass something that we know is incorrect?
Council members agreed to budget $1 million for partial implementation of the WIS findings in the 2022 budget. The Monroe County Council will discuss how to spend the budgeted money and what aspects of the WIS findings to adopt at a later date. The Monroe County Commissioners announced their intent to establish a voting precinct and district review committee. County Attorney Jeff Cockrell said that the resolution at the September 1st meeting was more of an announcement. He said the goal was to encourage residents to apply now so the committee could be ready to roll once Monroe County gets information from the state.
The intent of this resolution is to let people know that you guys are working on putting together a formal committee to look at the precincting and district boundaries for the county. Once that information is available from the state, we received information from the state that our normal time frame is 6 months, and it'll be likely closer to 6 weeks this year. So we really want to get a lot of the groundwork done prior to that, and getting people to apply for this important function is paramount. And so this is just announcing the intention to do that with the kind of formal documentation coming that will follow in hopefully a few weeks.
Commissioner Julie Thomas clarified that interested residents can apply for the committee online. You can find the board and commission application at co.monroe.in.us/boards. And we'll have more Cats Week after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying.
I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
I'm at risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me.
But with Girls Inc. in my corner,
there for me every day,
believing in me,
showing me what's possible,
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body.
To say I can rather than I can't.
To say no with no apology.
To be a leader.
To finish school.
To own my future.
To break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner. With you in my corner,
I will not be another statistic.
I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to Cats Week. The Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals considered granting a variance retroactively. At the September 1st meeting, County Planner Anna Crecelius discussed a slope variance at South Oak Ridge Drive. She pointed out that the petitioner had already started working on the land and that the petitioner was disposing of debris from construction in a ravine outside of their property.
So one of the things on the west side of the house is a ravine that's adjacent to them. It's mostly off their property, but a lot of the debris that was cleared was pushed into this ravine.
Board member Skip Daly wondered why staff had presented a variance instead of a moving to enforcement. He questioned Crecelius on why the planning department had not gone straight to mediation.
Why, prior to coming to the board, did you not work out that middle ground remediation with the petitioner?
Absolutely. A variance is an option. So the variance is, hey, can we keep it this way? That's the request. Can we have it exactly how it is? And if not, we go into enforcement.
Daly suggested the board continue the variance for 30 days to give the petitioner time to create a remediation plan. Board member Margaret Clemens commented on the importance of discouraging actions like this from happening again. She added her surprise that someone would take these actions without consulting the county first.
But boy, that looks like drastic action that was taken without any consideration for county approval. That I don't know how someone does that, without thinking you better check with the office. I just don't understand that. It just doesn't make common sense to me.
An initial vote to continue the variance failed. Clemens moved to deny the request along staff recommendations. This motion passed 3-2 with board members Skip Daly and Bernie Garitas dissenting. On September 2nd, the Bloomington City Council joined the Back from the Brink campaign, which advocates for the global abolition of nuclear weapons. Councilmember Isabel Piedmont Smith explained that supporting the campaign would mean that the city would not make any contracts with companies involved in making or transporting nuclear weapons. David Keppel, spokesperson of Bloomington Peace Action Coalition, supported the campaign during public comment.
We live in a time of climate chaos and political turbulence that is much too dangerous for hair-trigger nuclear weapons. If a crisis arises and leaders miscalculate, we could have an omnicidal nuclear war. As Beatrice Finn of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons says, the choice is the end of nuclear weapons or the end of us. Your resolution wisely endorses the Back from the Brink platform, which is a set of common sense steps to reduce nuclear risk. The United States must pledge never to use nuclear weapons first. As Indiana's late Senator Richard Lugar warned a few years ago, it is a deadly illusion to think we could start a nuclear war and somehow keep it limited. Yet today, the US is embarking on a $1.7 trillion enhancement of our nuclear arsenal with destabilizing first strike nuclear weapons. This is misguided and very dangerous. By speaking out, Bloomington is joining cities across the nation, such as Baltimore, Des Moines, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Tucson, and Washington, D.C., in demanding that our elected representatives listen to reason and reduce, then eliminate this mortal threat to ourselves and future generations. Thank you very much.
The City Council also approved an amendment to zoning on the Curry Urban Properties Development Plans. The main changes were to the design of the garage and roof. Councilmember Matt Flaherty explained possible options for the building that would ensure that the development would not create a heat island.
The UDO contemplates two sustainable development incentives or standards in relation to roofs. One is for the green or cool roof, which is actually reflected in this reasonable condition. The other has to do with parking surfaces. I believe the petitioners are willing to meet this one, and I thought that was the better way to go and simpler and better in line with their design.
Flaherty supported the project, stating it would move forward the city's sustainability goals to have more people living in closer proximity to each other. The Ellettsville Plan Commission discussed an amended Governor Park landscape plan. At the September 2nd meeting, Planning Director Kevin Talati presented an amended plan with less shrubbery and fewer sidewalks. Petitioner Hayden Lockhart said aspects of the project have cost more than expected, resulting in changes to the landscaping.
The first problem was we were running into so many huge cost increase. So when we came before the council, was it February or March of last year? It was approximately, close to 18 months ago. We had a great plan put together. We had submitted everything and we had a fixed budget. And that fixed budget was set by two different things. One of them is the tax credit authority, in Indiana. So as we started to go through it, we had a whole bunch of different things that happened to us. And one of those things was our lumber costs went from $800,000 to $1.5 million. Roofing has gone from $260,000 up to $514,000. And these are all costs that we had no way to be able to contain and fix. So we've kind of gone through our contingency.
Commissioner Don Calvert did not mind the missing sidewalk. He said as long as one sidewalk leads to State Road 46, the plan is still fine.
The sidewalk around the north and the east, I would agree, would be kind of sketchy in the first place. As long as people can come out of the building and walk along a sidewalk to get through the development and back up to 46, I'm fine with that.
Commissioner Sandra Hash moved to approve the amendment with conditions. Commissioners approved the motion 5-0. And that is all for Cats Week. Thank you for joining us. For Cats and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.